ကျွန်တော်တို့အခုချိန်ကပြည်သူပြည်မြန်မာပြည်သူပြည်သားတွေအားလုံးဒါအထူးသဖြင့်ပေါ့ဒီຫນွေဦးတော်လိုင်းရေးမှာပါဝင်ခဲ့တဲ့ပြည်သူပြည်သားတွေအားလုံးအတွက်ခက်ခဲကြက်တဲနေတဲ့အချိန်လည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်အခုဆိုရင်ကမ္ဘာအရေးမြန်မာအရေးကလည်းမတည်မငြိမ်ဖြစ်နေတဲ့အနေအထားမှာအားလုံးကလည်းဒီလိုပဲအားတင်းပြီးတော့ရှေ့ဆက်နေရတဲ့အချိန်လည်းဖြစ်တယ်ပြောခင်မှာကိုကြီးအနေနဲ့ကိုကြီးရဲ့ background ပေါ့နော်ကိုကြီးရဲ့ background လေးရယ်ကိုကြီးရဲ့ဒီ life style လေးရယ်တစ်ချက်နားထောင်နေသူတွေလည်းတည်သွားတစ်ချက်လောက် share ပေးပါဦး
ကျွန်တော်ကတော့လာနှစ်ခုတစ်ချောင်းရှိဒီကနံပါတ်ပေါ့နော်ရက်သက်တာတိကျကြီးပါကျွန်တော်နောက်ဆုံးတောင်းထမ်းဆောင်ခဲ့ရတော့ခိုင်နာဆေးရမြို့မှာ yes ခေါ်ရန်ကုန်တိုင်းဒေသကြီးအမှန်တော့ချက်စီအခုပေါ့ဗျာအခုစီးပေါ့တောင်းထမ်းဆောင်ခဲ့တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ကျွန်တော်စီးရဲစလုပ်ခဲ့တဲ့ရက်ဆွဲရတော့ကျွန်တော်3ရက်3လ2021ခုနှစ်ဖြစ်ပါတယ်ကျွန်တော်စီးရဲမလုပ်ခင်နေရတယ်စပြီးတော့အနာသိမ်းရဲ့နေရာကျွေးတာကိုကပွင့်ခြင်းပဲ by မောင်ချောနွယ် read by Kenneth Wong ကျွေးတာကိုကပွင့်ခြင်းပဲပန်းဆိုတာကျွေးတာကိုကပွင့်ခြင်းပဲတပွင့်ချွေရင်တပွင့်ဝေလွင်နေမှာပဲနှစ်ပွင့်ချွေရင်နှစ်ပွင့်ဝေလွင်နေမှာပဲကဲချွေစားမအောင်လေယူလေတော့သော့နေမဆုံးလေသင်တုံးလာမှုန်တိုင်းလာပဲတအားတိုက်ဆန်ချွေစမ်းပါအောင်ပန်းအဖူးတွေမြေမာကျွေအောင်မှွချွေစားမှာမမှုပါဘူးကျွေတာကိုကပွင့်ခြင်းပဲပန်းအပိဓမ္မာဒါပါပဲလေချွေလို့ကျွေလို့နေကျွေတာကိုကပွင့်ခြင်းပဲဟဲ့
I'd like to welcome everyone tuning into this episode. Many of you now listening likely have a measure of personal freedom and liberty in your own lives, freedoms that the speaker you're about to hear from no longer enjoys. I don't say this to make anyone feel guilty, but to offer a reminder that we're very fortunate to have a degree of agency and safety in our lives that our upcoming guest and everyone else in Myanmar these days can only dream of. So after you hear their story, please consider how you can use your freedom to support or advocate on behalf of the Burmese people. Any action, no matter how small, counts. Now, let's hear what they have to say. I'm very happy to welcome back to a second appearance on Insight Myanmar podcast, Chit Tun, who joined us last year soon after the coup broke, and he was one of the leaders in the nonviolent protests that were occurring around Yangon and around the country. And it's been a year since that time, and we're going to check in with him about what has passed since those initial weeks that we checked in with him before. So, Chit Tun, thanks so much for joining us again.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm also very glad to meet you again, bro.
Yeah, we're glad to have you there. Glad to have you here, and glad that you're safe and sound after what's been such a difficult year. I think I want to kick off this conversation first by asking you, before we had our interview, before this current recording, I had asked you to listen one more time to the interview we did last year, which I also encourage listeners to check out. This was an interview we did just weeks after the coup developed, and we had talked with Chit Tun about how he was responding and what he was doing, how he was taking part and actually leading some of the nonviolent demonstrations in the street. And I had asked Chit Tun to listen to that interview again before our current conversation, so it would be fresh in your mind, and would you'd be able to hear yourself from a year ago and reflect about what the conversation was about and how you feel about it now, maybe how you've changed or shifted. So you have had a chance to listen to that conversation again recently, just a few days ago. A year has passed since we talked. What stood out in your mind as you were listening to that conversation and reflecting upon what we talked about last year?
When I listened to my interview again, at that time, like, how can I say? I got kind of power, like, from my interview, Like, at the time, I was really, like, kind of quite strong, and also, like, I made very good decision, and kind of, like, at the time, like, I see, like, honestly, for now, I see kind of, sometimes I feel ashamed, like, a little bit different, like, for me, like, I see another person, when I listen my interview again at the time. And after thinking and after, like, checking, because of I feel like that, so I think, what is the difference? This is just a year. So, and after that, finally, like, by listening my last interview, I got some strength from it, and I'm quite sure, like, I found my way more clear than before.
What strengths did you get by listening to your interview?
Like, kind of, like, now, like, this, I need to compare with this situation. For now, like, I'm afraid, like, to be a leader, or I don't want to lead the people. This is my situation, But at the time, like, I was decided by my mind, to do anything. Like, I don't have anything afraid, or I don't have no feeling. I have decided to give even my life at the time, like, kind of things. And now I was thinking, like, I'm afraid to lead the people, like, I'm afraid to deep in the revolution, kind of these things are attack me. So I'm listening my interview again, like, I was kind of person like this. So what make me, like, weak, or what make me, like, kind of the present right now? Like, such kind of question appears, and I think again and again. So that's why I told you, I found my way, and I found what to do all clear and clear. So, yeah.
Right. So what you're describing are these kind of natural ups and downs in the course of such an emotional kind of journey that everyone has taken in this revolution, and in trying to figure out what to do and how to do it, and feelings of weakness and power, feelings of confidence and cowardice, feelings of highs and lows. And it sounds like you've been hearing your interview at that time. There was a certain energy and high to it that at the moment you were listening, at least, you didn't share, and so it was going back. But another thing I'd like to ask about is, when we spoke before, you were kind of caught up in a number of things that were taking place that I think even you didn't understand, because everything was so sudden. There was a sudden takeover by the military. There was a sudden response by the people in trying to figure out how to respond. There was a sudden fear and strategies that were developing simultaneously. So there was a lot of spontaneous and naturally occurring things that were happening on all sides. And that led to you suddenly being thrust into the streets and playing a leading role, climbing on top of vehicles and platforms, and giving speeches and promoting nonviolence and defection to police officers and other things. But at that time that it was happening, you probably weren't aware of everything taking place. You were just responding in the moment to something that had happened and trying to figure out the best way to deal with that, with being totally unprepared for that kind of situation. Since that interview, over a year has passed, and we're going to get a bit into your journey, both your outer journey and your inner journey. But before we get there, you've had a lot more time to process and think about and talk about and reflect how things have developed in ways that you may not have understood in the moment they were happening. So as you listen back on that interview, you also have a certain kind of perspective and maturity. Even though it's only been a year that's passed, that's been a long year. That's really been about 10 years in normal times, given just how much things have taken place. You've really grown and aged, I'm sure. So as you listen to that interview with much greater wisdom, maturity, age, perspective, were there things that you noticed in the interview where you had a greater sense of perspective and maturity that you understood or thought about that you didn't quite grasp in the moment when you were talking because you were so caught up in the moment?
Yeah, like at that time, like, we were thinking at the time. We were thinking like we have never experienced about the dictatorship, and at the time we didn't exactly know about who is the dictator, what like the dictator, what kind of person like this, before around 88, at the 88 cases, they found like they faced with the dictatorship, they experienced the dictator. But for us, they are kind of just an experience. Like we learn by reading, we learn by listening. At the time, we feel like kind of emotion, but we don't have like kind of physical experience or kind of that things. But when we faced with the dictator, like kind of military coup in 2021, at the time, we feel and we thought the dictator are human. We thought like this, and also at the first day of military coup, the dictator announced, like General Mayon, he said, we need to take the responsibility for the country because of like the wrong voted, especially they point out that things, and also like kind of like not he told everything is a lie, but we thought that okay, if we make a proof that we didn't accept him, we don't agree with him, like we don't agree totally with him like this, So at the time, I was trying my best, like, to stimulate all the people. Like they are like kind of, they have the emotion with that. They know like making the military coup is like kind of leading to destroying the future of the people. At the time, we respond like a kind of human way. Like we choose kind of like peaceful protesting, and we just show that, and we just prove them that we don't accept you guys. We cannot accept you totally. We prove that this is kind at that time. And also like most of the people in Myanmar, like at that time, they thought that they have, although they have the plan, they have the future, but they are quite how can I say, narrow about they're quite narrow about about human, about the religion, about the kind of, about the nationalities, quite narrow. Oh, but they forget everything at the time. They just focused about the military coup. But after passing years, everything has changed because, like, as you said, kind of, you look like I'm more relaxed and quite different from the first interview. This is because like military coup is like just a case, but behind it, there's a lot of long history. There's a lot of cases. There's a lot of box. We didn't dig it. So now, like along a year of the revolution, like we dig the box about the conflict, about nationalities, about the conflict, about the conflict of the religion, and like about the conflicts between people, between the armed forces. We want, as long as we familiar more and more, and as long as we deal with them deeper and deeper, like, you know, when I listen my interview, sometimes like make me smile, sometimes make me laugh, you know, like sometimes like kind of these things happen. At the time, yes, I I I feel a lot, but like more emotion is more. But now I know that like to make better, to create a better world, like we need to more calm. Yeah, kind of this thing.
Thank you for that. So, when you listen back on that interview from a year ago and the way you're describing it today, is it fair to say that you feel that there was a bit of naivete at that time?
Yes, of course. I was naive. Yeah, you can say that. I was naive about the dictator. I was naive about the like, you know, the conflict between nationalities, and I was naive, or I was quite immature about the religion, or like kind of this thing. Yeah, kind of stupid, you know. Kind of. Yes.
How are you naive? In what ways do you feel that you were naive, and that you? I guess another way to answer this question, or to ask this question, is in what ways do you feel you've matured in the past year? That in listening to this interview, you realize a maturity you have now that was clearly not evident then. How have you grown? How are you not? How have you been able to see your naivete?
Yeah. How was the way I was naive is kind of like I thought very simple way, like all the people were like against the military, and even for the kid, like even for the kid can think about it, like the military coup is not good, like dictatorship is not good. So because of that, everyone like against them, and including me. For me also, like even I risk everything to against them, like. And also I know and I believe, like, and I thought like all the people, we we think the same like us, like, but actually there's a kind of things like that I didn't understand, like in like about against the dictatorship. So like at the Rakhine state, no, like they didn't like they protest and they show like they show they didn't accept the dictatorship, they didn't accept the dictator, but not very strong, or like most of the people in Rakhine state, they didn't protest or kind of these things. And also in other part of the Myanmar, there was kind of the thing. But when I explore this area, and especially I explored in Kayin state, but about the Rakhine state, because I know about the Rakhine state because my friends was there, and also like there was a group of friends, and we did to against the military together a lot, and they was there, and according to their experience and found out. So like before the military coup, they have already like most of the people they know that like military coup will happen again, like sooner or later they know that kind of this thing. So I thought I was naive in that way. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're describing two kinds of naivete. One is you're naive about there's a naivete that in a belief that you felt at the time, if you simply do the right thing and enough people do the right thing, the dictators are humans, and the generals and soldiers are humans, and they'll understand that this is not wanted, and that they'll step aside. And so there is a naivete about the mindset and the humanity and the reasoning of some of these people in the military. But then it also sounds like there was a much more personal naivete. And you've just kind of touched upon these themes without going into detail, but you've talked about the idea of nationalism, of ethnicity, of conflict, of what happened in previous crises and conflicts like in Rakhine State. And so it sounds like there was not just a naivete about the humanity of the others, but there was also a naivete within yourself and people you knew about what was really happening in your country and what kind of country you wanted to build. Is that correct to say?
Yeah. Yes. It's kind of that way.
And so looking at that personal naivete, which is different than the naivete of your assumptions about dictators, it's a much more personal and sensitive and vulnerable kind of thing to look within. As far as you're comfortable in sharing, what have you uncovered in yourself about examining your own past assumptions or belief or biases? How have you grown in understanding the nature of the country and the peoples around you and the kind of society you want to build? How has that shifted?
Like, in Myanmar, like we are like a kind of, everyone knows us, like Myanmar is respect, and most of the Myanmar people are like Buddhist, and they believe in Buddhism, and also like they worship the monks, kind of these things. And also according to the Buddha teaching, like we are very like kind of like everyone know that everyone heard the 5 precepts. They judge by this, kind of these people, they follow the rules like this. But and as my experience, this is like Myanmar people or like quite similar with other people. The people want to live freely and kind of these things. The people want to grow freely. But according to the country, or as my opinion, normally most of the people in Myanmar are like quite emotional and also like quite tensed, you know. Tense, I mean, is really sensitive, like about the religion, because along the history, the dictator used the religion as a tool. Like, you know, they used the monk, they used the famous monk for their power. They used the pagoda for their power, and they used kind of Buddha teaching for their power. This is along the history. Like, you can see that in Myanmar, there's a lot of influence about the Burmese tradition, and not Burmese tradition, like kind of like Buddhism. You can see the influence of the Buddhism. Like, but the leader at that time, the leader at that time is like dictator. Dictator know well about the Myanmar people situation, Myanmar people mind, and they quite know well how to manipulate the people with the religion. Like, and also they are not brainless, you know, they are not brainless. They have the master plan to conquer the Myanmar people, like along their generation. Like when they made the military coups around 88, like they are not educated person, but I told you they know well how to manipulate the people. Like they destroying the education. Like they pressed the university, they pressed the like teachers, and they make like you can, and nowadays you can see that like kind of education like educational university is in downtown, and other like famous technological university in downtown, and the rest of the university are like out there around the countryside, you know, kind of these things. Like, so nowadays the people are quite sensitive about the religion around my people. Also, even like kind of the monastery I lived is like honestly they hate the Muslim, you know, like you know that like this is Mapada, you know. At the beginning, like I thought like it was right, because like kind of even I have like maybe it was about when I was 13 years old, you know, like I saw the like kind of video like Muslim cut the throat, kind of like they kill the people. So at the time, even when I see my friends, like Muslim friends, I'm afraid then, you know, I'm afraid then, like kind of this thing. And also behind the fear, there's a hate. We hate them. Like at the time we fear. And also, you know, about the at the Rakhine State, this is quite famous. No, quite famous is, I cannot use like famous. This is kind of reputation, bad reputation, and or like about the Rohingya people. You know, at the time when the military, when the war excuse the military general come to like ICJ and faced with the, because they did a crime or they did like ethnic cleansing kind of the thing. At the time, like the people in Myanmar, sure it was around like 2020, is it, or 2019? Like the ICJ called the general to face their crimes. Kind of me and like the people in Myanmar, most of the people in Myanmar, especially like kind of like Yangon region, Mandalay, something like Sakai, something else like these people, what did they do? What do you think?
Quite supportive in my memory.
Of course, they support to whom? They support the military. They support the like kind of these things. But like I think like Mail Online thought that this is the kind of support to him. But not that way, like at the time we trust Aung San Suu Kyi so much. And also she decided to face this crime. At the time we support her. We support her and we trust her. So because we respect her, we cover the army. Like kind of like, we thought that this is the way we think is like kind of like nationalism. This is our country, this is our people, and this is our army. You cannot judge by like this kind of that way. Very naive. Yes, very naive at the time, like this kind of that way. So kind of this thing happen, So around the people, me is like they're quite sensitive. But in other way, they're quite sensitive about the religion or like kind of nationalism. But in other way, they're not kind of ego people or they are not kind of bad people. They are kind in their heart. Whatever they said, like Muslim or bad or Rohingya or bad, that in my environment, there are a lot of people who support the Rohingya people, like who make the donation to them, And also like even in my monastery, I remember that like make a donation to the Muslim people, like. So how can I say? It's hard to difficult, but in Myanmar, most of the Myanmar people, especially Burma, like Burmese people they have kind of, I don't know how to say it. They feel themselves like impressive, I think. They believe in Buddhism and like in Myanmar, like they don't have space for other religion, but they want democracy. So kind of that yeah, but kind of that things. This is sometimes, at the time we thought we were right, but now, yeah, you can see it now. I'm laughing, right? So that kind of these things happen. Yeah. So my environment is kind of like this, bro.
It's really interesting to hear you say that, because when you're describing your background, you're someone you're a Burmese Buddhist, but not just in a more conventional way. You really do try to adhere to the tenets of Buddhism. You follow these 5 precepts. You've spent so much of your young years at a monastery where you, even as you were developing a career in Yangon, you would go back to the monastery to use your English skills to teach English to many of the young monks and the poor kids in the area, and supporting the Sayadaw. And you, as we talked about in the last interview a year ago, you were at a monastery that was so remote and so peaceful, really, that foreign meditators and monks would end up there, and you would take care of them. And so you really have this true Buddhist, you really adhere to the core of these Buddhist values. It's not just a religion. You really believe in and try to follow, to as far a degree as possible, the Buddhist teachings. That's in the spiritual realm. And in the political realm, you, from before the coup developed, you adored Aung San Suu Kyi. She was a hero, an icon, a symbol of the world, a representative of the people, someone that you held very dear and very close to heart in the respect and the adoration that you and the appreciation that you felt for her. So it's interesting, because when the coup hit, I think you were in this somewhat awkward position where at the moment you maybe didn't realize the contradictions. This person who, as yourself at that time, who's protesting the military takeover, you yourself are holding a fear that the Muslims might might be causing some kind of problem in your country and with your faith, and that you're holding on to Aung San Suu Kyi as this pillar, this example, without question of her motives or her reasoning. And I guess somewhere throughout the year, these two conflicting sentiments start to clash with each other. And as the revolution progresses, you start to realize that the military that you're trying to take down and the new society you want to build up, on one hand, but on the other, you start reflecting on some of the attitudes and assumptions and beliefs that you yourself were holding. And I guess you realize there's some contradiction there. Would that be correct to say?
Yes. I need to talk about this because, to grow a tree, you need a seed, right? To be a tree, we need a seed, like the seed should be a good one. So if it's like, if the seed touch the ground, like if we appear the like good tree, like a kind of example like that, like Aung San Suu Kyi, like she trying to plant, she trying to grow, and she put many seed, like from 2015 to 2020, like she grown many seed, like the kind of these thing. I've already mentioned you, like I trust her and I believe her and I admire her because of, like, because of what she did and what she say, kind of this thing. Sometimes, like, I don't understand why she do that, like why she did such kind of thing. Sometimes kind of this thing happen. I will give you the example. Before I give you the example, let me clear about why I believe in Buddha. Like I was a Buddhist because my mom, she is a Buddhist. My dad, he is a Buddhist, kind of that way. But like, as a child, nope, I don't care. What is the Buddhism or what is Muslim? I don't care. Your friend, my friend, okay, that's fine. If we can play, that's good. Kind of that way. But when I was 11, my father passed away, and my eldest brother, he was stuck in Thailand as a hard worker, and we lost the connection about 10 years. But I passed my life like with the Buddha teaching, because I'm quite close with the monastery. I grew myself with the Buddha teaching, even before, like, I trust in karma because of the Buddha teaching. I was trying to be clever among my friends in school. I'm trying hard in school because of Buddha teaching, not because of my mom. She like, after my dad, like, he passed away, like my mom have to run the whole family. So she have to run for our school course, for our like food, or for everything. She have no time to teach or to show the way or to make the guidance for our life. She is not also kind of that person, especially like her family in Myanmar. That, like, quite different from the West. Like in Myanmar, like father is kind of like he responsible everything, especially he ran for financial, and he make a kind of teaching. Like my mom, like mothers are, they took care of the family, and mother make the family more warmer, more happier. Father make the family more safer, kind of this thing. So, like, because of Buddha, I was a clever person. Because of Buddha teaching, I make the right decision. I could make the right decision, and I follow and I'm trying to success my education. Kind of this thing. That's why I trust so much for Buddha. But I also, this is my kind of like my habit, because I have no further since I was young. Like I'm more precious on my friends, or like kind of, I have a kind of like more familiar or more attached than normal to the friends or like the people who like around my environment, kind of that thing. So I don't care he is Muslim or not. Like, I don't care he is like Christian or not. When I was young, I want to chat with my friends, and I want to like mosque, but I cannot go in. When I was young, like kind of this player, we can play, we can eat, kind of that way. But they're just a memory. When we grew up, like we start we start like we start facing the kind of like manipulation, you know, and also like kind of, and mature, and also like kind of, this is our ego, I think. No, that's not, I think that's quite sure kind of our ego, like because we trust the monk, and if the one you trust is wrong, we are also quite sure to be wrong if we don't think, kind of that things. This is the will and trust in Buddha. But in other side, like when we grow, like we feel more like we have kind of, we have more kind of like haters, like we have more and more haters on other religions when we grow old. And about the Dawn San Suu Kyi, especially the military manipulate about her with Muslim, because like to make a and during the election, like the military make a propaganda about she took the support from the Muslim, and she trying to make in the country to Muslim country, kind of that way, you know. So like we afraid, not we, especially like the monk we trust, they afraid more. But and I told you, like between the 2015 and 2020, Dawn San Suu Kyi, she did kind of like, meditation retreat or kind of ceremony that for all religion, like in for all religion, and in that religion, like the monks saying like monks, like senior monks and a Christian monk and Muslim monk and the Hindu monk, something like that. Like for the senior people, they are in upper seat or upper level, and on ground with their, like on ground the novice, with the novice and also kind of followers. At the time, military took the photo to manipulate, like on ground the novice are sitting, and like the Muslim monk and Christian monk are on the seat. At the time they said to the, oh look, this is kind of, these things are happening in Myanmar, and later on if you like accept kind of that things, the country will change into kind of Muslim or like other religion way influence us. So like because I heard kind of that thing a lot. Because I told you, like last interview, I told you like I was spent about 6 year like in monastery before like I'm not quite like I'm not far from the monastery. It is quite close for me. So like I have the kind of that I have already heard kind of like propaganda, sometimes they use the line like kind of propaganda, the same as like the same as the happening in Iraq, like they kill the people by cutting the throat, or they shoot stone to the people. Like kind of these video file are quite good too for the military, for the monks, kind of that way. But under the like democracy government, kind of they have no like for the senior monks, they have no special chance for them. But when under the military, under the military government, they have the chance. Like if you are very famous, if you have the follower, like if you are the monk, if you have many followers, you have the authority to oh, I want that. I need to build the building here. Yeah. And after that, the guys from the military, they did. Like very powerful. The monks are very powerful in Myanmar. But under the democratic government, their power are getting like less and less, and also they're leveling with the other religion leader. So at the time, the most important thing is like morality and kind of that things is like who did. There's a lot of monks also in Myanmar who follow the Buddha rules, and they are very like respected, and and they make without saying anything, just by looking them, such kind of manner, just by looking them, make the people feel like calm or peaceful or kind of these things. If the monks follow the Buddha rule really and deeply, kind of these things. So like the monks who have the power, like kind of that power, like without, no, we cannot say that illegal or not, legal or illegal. Like as long as the monks are famous, they feel like they thought they're more powerful. So kind of these thing happening, So like at the time we don't like it, but we have a kind of heart. Okay, we are Buddhism. We have to respect the monk. We have to follow what they are saying, what they are teaching. Kind of like these things are like happening before the coup. But now, no, everything's changed. Quite changed.
Right. So what was it like for you, someone that takes the precepts so seriously, that really tries to be a good Buddhist and incorporate the Buddhist teachings in your life, to realize that your own government, the military, was manipulating the faith and the belief and the fears of Buddhists in order to profit themselves? How did it make you feel over the course of the last year when you started to realize that the leadership was manipulating the Buddhist faith of the people in order to control and rule further?
When I see you, for this, I will tell you about the experience. Before I tell you, sorry, your last question is like how would you like to be kind of the country? So we will, not I, like the people, and also there's a lot of my friends who will like trying, like no one is above the law. So kind of that things, we will create kind of that country. Okay. So like no one would get more chance because or he is Buddhism, because he is Muslim, or because he is Rohingya. No, all the people will be the same, and all the people have to like kind of that way. They should have their right, like on our era, on our country. Like now we are trying to build, we are trying for that country. Let me share the experience. When I work in a company, so like my boss, they arrange like a trip like for the staff, like on Christmas. So they like for 3 days, so they make a trip for the staff to a beach. But I didn't go to the beach. Like I went to the meditation retreat for 3 days. 3 days, I let it go my chance to go to the beach with my like colleagues, with my people in work. So that quite sure it will be a happy trip. But I went to the meditation retreat because that retreat is like they accept there's a kind of retreat that about five different they separate the meditation retreat into different 5 parts according to our ages. Like, but I went there for meditation retreat because I respect that monk so much because he is trying to make the youth better and better, and I believe he is trying to make the youth to be a better citizen, better country. No, I understood that he is just trying to make the followers. I thought he just using the Buddha route as a tool. He did a lot of good things. I admit it. He did a lot of good things. He said a lot of good words. But now I feel that way. He just used the Buddha. Kind of like because he made a kind of like how do you say that, like to people to understand other people, kind of make a blessing, like sending, like making the like chanting or like kind of blessing at the ceremony of the dictator trying to like make a donation at the pagoda they believe, and that monk support him. And also there's a lot of youths well present because of protesting. There were a lot of the people who will attend his retreat. There's a lot of people who die. There's a lot of people who were arrested by the military. But he said nothing. That monk, nothing about it. So that make me really surprised. He is quite famous. Now I told if I told about the retreat, so like if the Burmese like people, or if the youth, the young people around 20, if they listen, like they will know what monk is. And also kind of Tirakusiaro, we respect so much. And also they are kind of really expensive monk to make the kind of Dhamma talk. That's really expensive. If you want to make a Dhamma talk to him, you have to pay for the 100,000 jet for him. That's kind of thing. So but we trying to like invite him to give a Dhamma talk or something like that. This is not kind of like, I'm not blaming the Buddhism. No. If you think that way, you are very narrow and you're very immature. I just pointing out like kind of people who make me, I am Buddhist and I follow the Buddha teaching. But that remind me, Chit Tun, don't too blind. Like kind of that teaching that lesson gave me after the coup. And also there's a lot other monk, like they are very respectful, like we didn't know, but although they didn't involve, like they didn't protest, they didn't say anything about the military coup, but they did very deep kind of loving kindness. And they are trying the best for, like they are practicing, they are following the Buddha rule, because to make the people more peaceful and to get more people relaxed, and the people are already tired, even in our normal life. Now, Myanmar people are like, they're how can I say, like, they're dying. They are dying because of tired, very tired. They're like tired nearly to death at the time. If his like mental support would be a like kind of relax or kind of peace, kind of these men are also a lot. Like they said, okay, people, like, yeah, we understand, like you are doing the best for the country, okay, that's your right, but you don't have to give your body so much burden. You don't have to, how can I say, you don't have to punish your mind, or you don't have to so rush your mind with burdens. No, just trying to relax and trying to think and make calm, so that will make you more clear, and that will make you to see more opportunity, like to win the dictatorship, kind of that way. Also, there's a lot of monk here, so like that's why before I was thinking, oh, Buddhism is perfect, and also there I realized that there's a lot of pages that I didn't read, that I didn't want to read. There's a lot of pages in Buddhism, kind of that way. So I understood that. So like, oh, we are not perfect. Kind of that way.
So what does that make you think about your own personal Buddhist faith going forward, as well as the role in Buddhism in the country? In other words, do you feel that there's a way to separate some of the historical teachings of the Buddha from the way the culture and politics have manipulated them? And if there is a way to do that, how would you map that out and the new society that you'd like to see built? Where do you see Buddhism and the Buddhist teachings and the monkhood coming together with democracy and human rights and federalism? Do you think these things are compatible? Do you think they can go together? Or do you think that it's making you fundamentally evaluate some of the tenets of Buddhism and how to be a Buddhist?
Like, if I said that, not because of the religion I believe or I worship, I can tell that, like Buddha said, Buddha teachings are like for all kinds of people. Buddha teachings are for all kinds of people, and he never said to hate the people which is different from you. He never taught like kind of to separate other religion and to look down other nationalities or other religion. He never taught like that way, because I'm quite sure with that. He never said that. Like, if you don't believe me or if you don't follow my rules, you will get in trouble. No. His teaching is not like that. He have a lot of ways. If you learn, if you want to be rich in your life, there's a lot of way. There's a lot of way. He taught a lot of way to reach. Like, you have to work hard, or like, you will know that in like there's a lot of costs to make you a better person, to make you a better person in your work, to make you a better like leader in your job or in your like professional field or in your environment, to make you happier in your to make happier your family, like to be a better person. Kind of these things are, everything is already Buddha taught and Buddha teach, as long as you can like explore his teaching. Like you will find out. Only thing we need is, we need to how can I say? We need to be brave to speak the truth. We need to be brave to point out the truth, what is right or what is wrong. That's important. Like, Burmese culture. Oh, I'm members. Oh, I don't want to. Kind of that way. Like, So we need to change that habit. We need to rip out all these things. And we need to ask yourself. Don't ask to the other. If you support the wrong person, if you support the dictator, you are also kind of dictator. You are also you are also kind of like the people who want the disaster. Kind of these things. So we can continue the country not with the Buddhism. We will continue the country with the equality. You can find out the equality in Buddhism. So just trying to figure out what he taught. Don't look the people. The people are how can I say? The people are not all the rice. Yeah. So please trust your heart, and we can continue with the equalities.
So you just said that you want to continue the country in equality, not in Buddhism, meaning that the country is not built on Buddhist principles, as I understand it. It's built on principles of equality and fairness.
Yes.
The question I would have for you is, within this country of equality, as you describe it, is there a place for Buddhism? Is there a place for the Buddhist teachings? Is there a place for the monkhood? And the reason I'm asking this is that the fear that the leadership has always used is that if we don't have a Buddhist country, if we have a country built not on Buddhist principles, but on principles of democracy or fairness or human rights or equity, then Buddhism will lose its ground. The monks will lose their importance, and we will lose the faith of the Dhamma, of the Buddhist teachings. And so this is very scary. So this is in cycles of Burmese history and leadership, this has constantly been a fear that a more democratic and equitable country will result in a loss of faith in modern values and a loss of respect towards the monkhood and everything else. So in this kind of new society that you want to build, where fairness and equality are the important values, where is Buddhism's place in that society, and can it survive and continue to be valued in a society built on fairness?
Very good question. And also I am willingly to answer. There is no place for Buddhism, or there's no need. We don't need to have a Buddhism this place, this area is for Buddhism and Buddhist people. This area for Muslim the people who believe in Buddhism. This place is for Christian. No, we are designed by heart. So if the Dhamma mean the truth, and loving the truth, loving the truth, or kind of that way. If in your heart, as a teaching of the Buddha, this is Buddhism. There is a Buddhism, the place for the Buddhism is your heart, our heart. If you follow the Buddha rules, if you believe in Buddha rules, that is kind of having this is the place for the Buddhism. So you don't need a kind of special place. Whenever the people can think, we don't need to be afraid for that. This is a phrase came from they don't believe themselves. They don't believe themselves. Such kind of emotion came from. That's it. That's the key point the military did. This is the key point the military did. Yes, corruption. military make correction is right. To think the correction is right. Like at the time, the people became, when they see kind of the people who very rich, they impress. So the military make the people like money and power can make the people right. No, that's exactly wrong. For me, the most important thing is like to respect the people and each other, like to make the people more peaceful, to build the peaceful environment. Kind of these things are like the same. Kind of these things are the teaching of the Buddha said. But, not a goal, okay? Not the goal of the Buddhism. But his basic principle are that way, to make a peaceful world, to make the better world. So whatever you are like Christian, or like whatever you are like Muslim or like Hindu, or whatever you are, in your heart have a peace. In your heart there is a heart that love the truth. In your heart there is a like appreciates the humanity. If you're in your heart there is a compassion, yes, you're kind of Buddhist.
You would reference before, you said something like,
yes,
that if you support an oppressor in any way, then you are also an oppressor. There's also something of a dictator inside your own heart.
Yeah.
So as you look at the changes you've gone through in the last year, have there been some moments that you've uncovered in your own heart, not in the country, not in other people? It's easy to point fingers and look at what everyone else is doing wrong.
Yes.
But have there been moments you've looked inside your own heart and realized there's something of a dictator, there's something of an oppressor in me? I have also carried attitudes and promoted attitudes that have harmed other people out of my own fear or ignorance. Have you had any insights or moments like that in the last year?
Last year, kind of like, yeah, I have kind of that feeling, like if you support the people who make it wrong, you're also kind of that people, you support it. But as a follower, they have the chance to think about their leader, like kind of as I mentioned, like the monk who trust, for me, I trust so much that kind of monks, like that kind of senior monks. Oh, I trust him so much. He respects Buddha so much and he follows Buddha so much. But when I found out what he did, so I realized that, oh no, he's fake. He just precious. He just value his power, his position, not Buddha teaching. Kind of that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to shift the conversation a little bit because we've been talking a lot about your growth and your observations and your awareness, but I want to move to more personal on your story, because in the last interview we did, we really talked about your background and family growing up and the difference that you personally experienced under dictatorship and under transition. We looked at what was going on in the streets. I mean, when we recorded the interview, you were literally like, your voice was hoarse, like you were exhausted. You had sunstroke. You weren't sleeping very well. The internet was cutting out. So you were actually, that was a very kind of live action interview. And you were in the middle of constant activity while you were recording and talking. And I think that interview really also captures your mental state and your activities at the time.
Yes.
And when that interview left off, we don't, as a listener base, we don't know what happened next. We don't know. We know that historically in Myanmar, what happened last year, we know that there was a violent crackdown on the protests. The protest up to that point had been all nonviolent, peaceful, and your interview certainly attested to that. You talked with pride about the nonviolent spirit that people had, and as you've mentioned now, a bit of naivete and believing that would be enough to let the dictator step aside, that the will of the people were being heard. But the interview was published right when, I think soon after it was published, the military really started to become violent and people could no longer take to the streets, which was what you had been doing for days and weeks leading up to that interview. So that's what most of the interview focused on.
Yeah.
Since that interview, over a year has passed. So as far as you're comfortable, can you tell us what happened after that interview in your life, what decisions you took and where your path went after we spoke?
It happened a lot. That's it. No, I'm joking. Lot, of course, a lot. Like we really focus for peaceful protesting, because at the beginning of the conversation, I told you, I thought that dictator are human. No, like for now, like the dictator make me. What is the difference between human and animal? That make me, because let me explain you. Like, if the people don't think to develop themselves or to develop their environment, or if a person is just doing, he eat and he sleep and he making a sex, so he's just a kind of like animal. He's not a human. He's just doing the kind of animal things. This is like what we think. But the dictator are like worse than the animal, because they did a lot of bad things for the human. Like now like the whole world is supporting the Ukraine. Why? Because they don't like kind of like dictator. This is 21st century, bro. This is not the place for the dictator, because the people are knowing what is the dictator is. Kind of that way. Like the dictator, they don't care about other people. They don't care like the consequence or what they did. Kind of these things are like make worse than the animal. That's why I told you. Like I told you also, the dictator announced they take illegally like country powers because of the wrong voting and like wrong election. The people doing the bad things in the country. That's why they have to take over the like country power. No, that's why we make a peaceful protest. But like we are living not like a single, not like a, we are not living as a like in the world. We are not only Myanmar, There's a lot of other country, and also we are the member of like United Nations. So like we are protesting, and we are like acting like a human. We are acting with honor. Kind of that way. During the protesting, we never did against like kind of aggressive or something else. No, I can guarantee about that. Very peaceful. Like we sing the song about the revolutionary songs, and also we protest what we want. And also even last interview I told you, like we arrange for the protesting. That arrangement is like kind of like even we care about the road because of our protesting. We don't want like the road is blocked or something else. Like we arrange with the stream like to make systematically protesting, peacefully protesting, and after protesting, we have a team to pick up the kind of waste like plastic bag or like kind of that thing. We care everything, and we did with honor, and we respect them, whatever, although we know that they did very worse thing. But like we show our humanity. Like we show what we deserved. But like the dictator, they have no idea what are we doing. They see us like the people who against them, the people who block in their way. Kind of that thing. Only they thought like that. We didn't know at the beginning. We didn't.
And so what did you do then? What since we left off in that interview over the course of the past year, where did your journey take you?
Yeah. One, like the military killed a lot of people for the peaceful protester. You know, you guess what? We never let it go, the peaceful protesting. You know, because we cannot walk. We cannot like make the walk protesting. We protest with motorbike. We protest because with the motorbike they cannot like catch us. Kind of that thing we protest. And also, like in my township there's a full ward, so like we split the force of protester, and we protest in a ward. Like the police and soldier come to arrest the protester, so we protest in another ward. We have the connection each other, kind of that way, and we make the kind of like protesting like without people. We arrange the letter, we arrange the like kind of signboards for them, kind of that things. But they're like the soldier and the police are more aggressive, and the people are more dying. We really doubtful about the like people protesting is the answer. We doubt that. So at the time I was planning, like we make I told my friends like to make a discussion, to make a meeting like with my friends, like the leader of the student union. We make a meeting at a friend home. That night military got the news for that, and they came to arrest us like with 5 trucks. I think a lot of soldier. But we were lucky because we got a phone call from my friends. Brother, the news are leak. You have to like run away right now. Like at the time we are during the meeting. Like what will we do next? Like do we have to join the ethnic forces, or how do we continue the like protesting? Kind of that way. We kind of these things are we were discussing about that at that night. Like the military like because of the phone call, we packet everything and we wait behind the house of my friends, because it was already about 10 p.m. at night. So around like 11 p.m. like the military, they about the 5 trucks, they arrived in front of the house and they came in. So we have already like behind the house, so we have to sleep like the old tunnel. Like this is not rainy, that's why no water in the tunnel. So all night we have to sleep in that tunnel, and like the door barking. We were lucky because the soldier thought the door are barking to them, not us. Like that, we were really lucky that night. Like if we catch that night, we are only leaders, and we are planning how to do protesting, kind of this thing. So we were very lucky. So around like 4 a.m. After that, they asked the parent of my friends, and like, where is your son? But they didn't know about our meeting. They are trying to looking for only my friend. So at the time, the soldier didn't came to the back of the house, and they just asked, and they spent about an hour at the house, and they ask, where's your son go? Like kind of this thing, and after that they go back. But we dare not to go back to the house, because like we thought they might like leave a soldier to check us or something else. So we wait until about 4 o'clock in the morning in the old tunnel, and after that, so they thought, okay, how do we leave? No, like I told them like they don't know our meeting. That's why they didn't find us. You can that's quite sure. That's why just go back with the motorbike. But like in the morning, I have a friend she is working as a nurse. She is a CDN nurse from the like public hospital, and she told us she have a connection like with the ethnic enforce in Kayin State. She said, "Oh, okay, we have no time to consider, but we thought okay we need to discuss like kind of that way, and we leave from that house in the morning and like we discuss like we split all the people like and after that we date a place and we will gather that place in a monastery kind of joke in a monastery we date at the monastery and like we were planning to leave the Kenyan state and like I flee the Kenyan state. When I arrive at the Kenyan state, like I have to I attend the like military training for 1.5 months like together with my friends like, but we split into two groups. Like we are like about 20 people and we split into I'm with like 9 people and others 11 people, and like we went to the military training and at the time, and after that like the pandemic is quite severe, but after the military training, so we have no chance to fight like kind of this thing, and we have to stop. And after that we got a chance because we were planning to make a, I think if I said okay that it is not okay to say, okay, so we plan like to make a better place in Kayin State and also in my township, like trying to make it two base, and like we arrange everything, like we make a course for the military training and kind of these things. And also during I stay in the Kayin State, like also like that's my hobby. I teach and sometimes I make a volunteer as a clinic kind of this. I stay like, and I spent several months in Kayin State without fighting in our area. There was a serious battle, so like we experience two battle. One is like to take down the military base, and another is like defense. At the defense, I was not there, and like it's just there was my brother, there was my friends, many friends, and also like attendees from my course, from like military training course that we arranged. But that defense battle is like quite, how can I say? Honestly, I don't want to say that memory, but it's kind of, there's a lot of people used die in that battle, like without fighting. Like I mentioned, like that battle is like defense battle. According to his name, we have to defend the military, like they charge the base, so like we have to defend. But only 13 people at the front line in the morning, only 13 people with guns, but before that day there was a kind of branch army like from the EOs, and they have like heavy weapons and they gave the help for the defense line. But like and the next day in the morning they have no they didn't inform to the to other people, and they've already moved. Only 13 people left. Among these people there's my brother, my friends, and also I've already lost connection. So like they share their experience at the front line. Like only 13 people defend the base, like their opponents is with like plane, with planes. And also there's like, they said there was a saying, like they said the same number of the bullet, the armor we shoot is equal the same number of the heavy weapon armor that the military used. Like this, like 120 milli, 80 milli, like 40 milli, or like kind of quite similar as a bullet. Like they use a lot. They look like they mentioned that they look like, bro, they look like crazy. Like they look like crazy. Even they didn't notice we are stay there. Like among the 13 people, one dead, two is severe. And my friend hit the grenade, his arm. But they didn't die. But the problem is not there. At the base, there's like about 200 people, like kind of the PDF, 200 people. They was there without gun, and some of the people are like, they are waiting like, at the border, like because the border is there only like a river is apart the border. So they didn't notice that because they already heard like gunshot, a heavy weapon, and the plane. They have already heard that, but they don't know the like military force we come to them, and even they don't afraid because they believe that like the local EOs and negotiate with the army, with the military. They believe kind of that way. That's why they didn't run away and they just wait. I don't want to say that. Only because of the people who came back from the front line. They said, move, everybody move. Because like military is coming, that's why they have to like, some of the people like, there was a boat and they have to move with the boat. Some are like swimming, and also, on the beach, like about 16, 17 years old, like the youth die on the beach. Some are die in the water. Like, like they said, because like the river is not a big one. When they arrive to the other side of the country, like out of the country area, like they can see them. They took cover and they can see them. Even sometimes like there was a like refugee camp. Even sometimes like they said like the bullets and the armor arrived at the refugee camp, at the gate, around the gate of the refugee camp. They have to make the barrier as a like, they have to make a barrier like kind of like sandbags or kind of these thing they mentioned later. But like on the beach they saw like very clearly, like around like 16, 17 people that like high school student, only like kind of high school student. They would like to join the PDF, but they die in water. They die on the shore. Kind of these things happen on ground. That's kind of suck. This is, I don't want to blame no one. I don't want to blame everyone. I want to blame no one in that cases. I just blame like myself. Like they, when I see my brother and my friend again, like we cry and we say, oh, you're lucky you live. But I saw their eye, they are soulless. I cannot see the soul in their eyes. When I talk about them, me too, I felt the same. Like although they came back without dying, but like they don't like, they don't look like happy. They don't look like happy because of their life. No, they don't look like happy. Like they mentioned about that with tears. Kind of these things are happening on the ground a lot. I'm quite sure about that. And also there's a lot of other things. If I said like that, the podcast will be like many hours. A lot. I don't want to. So like that make me kind of like, and also I have already experienced with like against people. Like I saw the Rakhine, like one of my friends in Cayenne State, like he is we were friends. We were friends only when I arrived at the Cayenne State, and he mentioned his experience when he was young. Like, when the airplane come, they have to run away and they have to hide on ground. At the time I know that, like the people like me, like the people like who live in the city, when we were young, if we see the plane, we follow the plane. Hey, hello, the plane, where are you going, like this. But for the people, no, quite different. If they see the plane, they run and hide. No, everything's different. And also, like for the Cayenne people, they suffer a lot. They suffer a lot from the military. That's why, although that between like 2015 to 2020, like under the democratic government, they didn't get much chance, but only they got this is like kind of peace. They like their hope live again, like because I noticed that there was a like big village with big house. They mentioned that, oh brother, before we dare not to build a house or like kind of to build a like farm building, because the areas are not look even to grow like paddy or corns or like beans. Like it is really difficult because like the soldier wants only they fight, only they make a battle when like our like corn are mature, our like beans are mature, they just bend down. Kind of these things they are just minor. Like I met a lot of people, but these people have already they lost. Even in each family, there's no family who does not like who did not lose one of their family member. Everyone lost one of their family member. Like some lady, they lost their father in battle with the military. They lost their brother without joining the military as a villager. They bring them, and they how do you say that? Like we call the border, big at the border, or I don't know how to say. Like the military took the villager to carry their armor or to carry their bags or like kind of this thing, and after that never come back. Kind of this story like a lot frequently, and also some of the people like they are buried by like they are very on ground alive. Some of the people, they are very on ground alive. Why? I said, why did they do that? Because they found a kind of EOS like member in the village. That's why they bury the chief of the village on ground alive, kind of these things. And also like they said like the people are hanging on the tree and they shoot only like leg or arms. They don't shoot to kill. They just shoot like as a like human target. It's kind of these things. So like around my environment is kind of this story and kind of these things that make me my heart getting harder and harder. Only when I see the police and when I see the soldier, I just notice, oh, I have to kill them. Kind of this idea in my heart only I think is, oh, I have to kill them. Kind of that hard happened to me. But like I've already mentioned you that emotion doesn't work on ground. If you're very emotional, if you don't come, you will trouble or you will make it trouble your team. That is kind of the way of teaching. We teach safety is the most important thing on ground in battle or in your life. Kind of these things. So I don't want to, so like years of revolution is like that make me different person, I think.
Sure.
I think, yes.
Yeah. I can imagine that.
Yeah.
I don't even as someone myself who hasn't been through that, it's hard to know exactly how to respond to having to face those series of events, which no one should have to. I'm curious about also, and as far as you feel comfortable sharing, just the psychological or mental shift that needed to accompany your new role and your new work, because you describe this incident where you're going out with your friends to do nonviolent protests, and then it becomes dangerous. So you start to get creative. You protest in places where the military isn't expecting you. You have motorbikes, so you can't be arrested. And then they get more dangerous. And so then you have a meeting where you're trying to figure out, what do we do next? How do we go forward? They learn about that meeting, and you literally have to run for your lives and hide in safety. And the only way to eventually escape is to go to the EAOs, the Ethnic Armed Organization camps. You go to Karen State, and since you're there, you begin undergoing military training. And for the first time in your life, again, reference the beginning part of this conversation, you come from not just a nonviolent background, but a Buddhist background of doing no harm, of not even causing, not even killing an insect or lying or stealing something. So you're now suddenly finding yourself in this armed camp, learning techniques for causing destruction and death, and then having to witness what the military is doing to your friends, learning about what the military has been doing to the ethnic communities for generations, and having to take part in not only the camps you're going through yourself as a student, but you also become a trainer, and you train others, and then there's different operations and missions that as you graduate, so to speak, as you become prepared, you or your friends participate in. So this is quite a journey, and one that I think very few listeners have ever had anything close of being thrust into and being confronted with. And so I'm wondering, psychologically and mentally, the changes that you had to go through, the changes that you went through and only realized later what actually happened. But can you say something about what, as these external conditions were happening, as you were undergoing these hardships, what kind of change did it require mentally or psychologically in the process?
How can I say? How do you say the cruel? Cruel is like cruel is a bad thing, right? Like more dare to do that thing, no? I think.
You feel that you've become more cruel? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I mean, because kind of like a soldier. If I see a goat, if I see a goat, I don't feel like it is a goat. It's a food. Kind of this thing. Kind of this thing become, because as a conversation, this is quite fast, right? But along my journey, I face a lot of deadly. I passed deadly cases, because to stay the military charge, during the rainy season, before the end of the rainy season, so we have to move to another place. This is apart from their steam. That steam is quite shallow during the summer, but this is very dangerous during the rainy season because of the heavy raining water, very strong water. But we have to pass that water with packages. We have to swim. But I was drowning that time, and I thought, okay, I'm gone. I thought, no, one of my friends tried to save me, and I'm trying to swim again and again, so I was saved. And also kind of these things are happening again and again in my life. And also we faced with a soldier, and we thought, okay, we're gone. not that way, like, but they like we will free, like kind of these things happen again and again and again, like and also like during the course, our course is not like a proper, so that's why like facing a lot of difficulties, I kind of teaching a lot, and also nearly to death, like when I face kind of these things again and again, I feel that like my feeling getting changed, like, and I ask what is important, because before I really love to have the nirvana, you might know that, like, and some of the listener also will know the nirvana. This is the goal of the Buddhism, a place or nothing, like the middle, a place or like peaceful, quiet, and no consequence, or like no suffering, or no rich or no poor, kind of that place. This is my goal. I was thinking and like kind of believe in. As a man, I follow the Buddha teaching as a man, and like I'm taught as a monk, I will follow his teaching and to be a good monk, and to reach. I will try my best. Kind of the thing I was kind of the I taught. I am kind of the person, and you can say that I'm kind of strong Buddhist. But like now and my understanding is getting changed. Like, and I understood more and more to Buddha. Like, what is the most important things? Buddha always said the present moment is the most important thing. You can do nothing about your past. You cannot control your future. Only you can do and control is your present. Like, the present is the most important because it's create the past and the future. So, like, the present moment is the most important thing. And also, like, I understand that I need to make better person in day by day. That is the most important thing in my life. Not important to be a monk, or not important like kind of these things. Day by day, to be a better person is the most important thing. We are kind of that idea. That's why sometimes I feel that, okay, I don't care the Buddhism, or I don't care Christian, or I don't care anything. I care only is to be a better person day by day. Find it. But for me, I will pass by Buddha teaching. Like kind of these things happen to me.
And at the moment, I know that you're away from this. You're in a place of safety. As sometimes being removed from something, being removed from a situation that is traumatic, can bring up those bad memories and that trauma that was not able to be dealt with or processed in the moment because it was so painful. When things slow down and when there's silence, that trauma becomes much more vivid and terrifying to go back and remember some of those memories and some of those incidences and some of the pain and fear and suffering that one passed through. Are you finding that now? Are you finding that some of the memories of the past year are catching up with you?
Some of the memory catching up with me about what?
I mean, like some of the darker or more painful memories that you couldn't really process in the moment, that you're now, that it's, that trauma is now coming up in greater, like that trauma is stronger now that it has to be confronted.
Kind of like before, like, I told you, like, we support the military, and like we hate the Rohingya people. Like I hate the Rohingya people, kind of this thing. But yeah, of course. Like that's why I told you like present moment are the most important thing. Yeah, like when you face with the death, like when you realize that, oh, I'm dying, you will know how precious the present, kind of this thing. So whenever I thought about so that's why I told you like that this experience make me closer with the Buddha teaching, because like nothing is important more than the present. The present moment is the most important one. Like kind of this thing. Like now, like kind of trauma is now like I'm feeling is guilty about like living in a safe place. Like this kind of that way. I feel kind of guilty about now I'm safe. Even like when I have a good food or kind of this thing, I feel guilty. Kind of like trauma happening to me now. Although like I've already decided I'm stay doing whatever I can for revolution, but because my difference, and I also as a person who involved and very deep with the revolution, and now so I'm changed my way, but I never let it go about the revolution, but I changed my way after seeing my son, and like now I feel like when I live in safe place and like having good food, kind of these things make me guilty. So yeah, if you can say that.
Right. You reference your son. That's another part of your story, is the birth of your son and being separated from him and your wife. Can you tell us what happened with, as you had to escape to safety, what was happening simultaneously with your wife, who was pregnant at the time, and what it was like being separated and her own safety at that time?
Like that's also kind of trauma, like although I'm doing as I can for revolution, but another side I feel guilty about my family. Like I said, like the people around me, they said, "Oh, brother, you good father. Like you are the kind of example for your son, and like your family were happy with me." But for me, no, I'm not that feeling, because I'm not the kind of man who leave his wife once she was pregnant. But one point make me like feel better is like I don't want to, but I have to, like kind of that things, because my wife, she was a CDMer, and also like she have a lot of difficulties to like, even during the protest, I'm worried so much about her. I don't allow to protest, kind of these things. And so, and also I thought that at the time before I go to like Cayenne State, I discussed with her, but even for me, I'm not sure what will happen next. So I cannot risk my wife. So I have to leave her in her parents' village. But because of me and my brother, my family, like my mom and my sister, like my auntie, they have to go. They has been arrested by the police and soldier like many times, like 3 or 4 times, and like But my sister she is a student. That's why they didn't arrest for a night. But my mom, my aunt, they are arrested. Like so, but I told even like we have a connection. But my mom says she is clever, and now she is with another marriage. So that why she have a strong reason. So she said, "Oh, I have already with my own life. I have no connection with them. They are also with their own family, and also they are angry with me because I married another guy, not their father. That's why kind of these things happen. So a lot bro, about the mentality, a lot. So like even I have to arrange kind of devotement with my wife, because like if the soldier inquire her and if the soldier reach her, like she can show the like devotement letter, kind of that things. But also sometimes my like as a woman, as a woman, it's not easy, no. It's not easy like to stand, and also like there's a pressure about her mother, her father, kind of these things a lot, and also she had threats. Like, but before my son was delivered, so she called me like, can you come back? At the time, it's the most difficult time for me, that make me like tired if I think that time. And also like, but I'm trying, but everyone around me stopped me. Brother, no, you cannot go. You was already like all the like PlayStation, they have your photos and like they have your information, so you cannot pass the gate. We're quite sure of that, and kind of these things. I let it go, that dream to go back to my wife, because I have to. At the time I thought, and I have to, because she was affected by COVID-19 at the time. Before, just only like before she, but like only just 1 or 2 day before delivery, she got affected. Like she was positive. She got affected COVID at the time. So like the hospital at the time, they didn't accept the COVID parents, like COVID patient under the military, like no, systematically no. There's a lot of problem at the time. Like she have the difficulty about the birth. So she have a friend who is from the military, and she know the doctor, and like she said, you don't worry, if you cannot come back, it's fine. Like I have a like connection with that kind of that way. She said that make me like relax me, that make me feel better, like because of like that. And after that, she delivered with the COVID. But my son is really lucky. She was born in like Mayor Day, 19 July. This is Mayor Day, so very like
Martyrs Day, yeah.
Martyr Day, right? Yeah, 19 July. So like that's also kind of proud to me. Yeah. And like she, and for me, like at the time I decide I need to think about it, because I made a promise to my wife, because I did this for my son. But now he have already delivered to the war of the dictatorship, like under the dictatorship, but I didn't achieve my goal. That also kind of make me like, kind of make me cry, but it's fine, because this is kind of my issue. I cannot do my alone. It is kind of union work. It is kind of group work. So in an organization, so you cannot be like, you cannot go as you want. You have to look around your environment. You have to negotiate with other people, like kind of that way. So I don't want to say that, but I promised my wife, like if my son, like I don't want to leave my son under the like dictatorship, under the dictator. So she asked me that, what will you do? Honestly, I have no answer for that. Even for my own, that's a difficult time. Like, but I've always think about them, and so, and like after like having studying the like battle around my place, so like after that battle I mentioned before you, like defense battle that make me really feel down, because I am communicating with the leaders. I'm communicating with the leaders like from EOS and from my from PDF, kind of these things, and I'm responsible for like communication. So I know very well what are they doing, what's happening on ground. I know well, and also like kind of cases among the organization, like on the table, like they have a negotiation with like military guys and like EOS, but in actual ground, the people are dying, especially the youth. They are risking their life. They're risking their life with the death. So kind of these things make me more like. At the time, I decide that I need to change the way. I don't want to like walk like this. Before, I plan to go like Kachin, or like I'm trying to connect with them. But during these days, like the military take control on ground, and it's really hard to reach the Kachin state, kind of the thing. And also, it is hard from. If I have to arrange, I think I might can go there. But, for me, for myself, I would like to change like the way I'm doing, because I have already risked like my life for a year, and I was deep, and I knew like what's happening on ground, kind of like a lot of things happening, sometimes like because of like the leader problems. They are responsible the people, and they manipulate the people, like kind of. EOs are also like kind of they are against the military, but they have the kind of habit the military. So I feel like okay, I have to like I have to take off my son and my family, get out of this communication, kind of that way I think. But on the other side, there's a lot of people who are risking their life, and a lot of people who are really hard working for revolution. Because of that, I cannot let it go my way. So I need to change, and I know the people who are really hard working. So okay, I discussed with my friends. I will leave the country, but before I go, I would like to meet my son and my wife, and I will arrange, make them more safe. But when I see my son and wife, so I don't want to lose them again. I lost them one time, but now I don't want to lose them again. That's why I plan to take with me. Yeah. So so she came to me, but like because of the CDMA, so she have to make a new ID and kind of these things. But very lucky because of my son, he is only 6 months. That's why like at the checkpoint, she passed easily. Yeah.
I'd like to go back to something you've talked about several times through the conversation, as well as just now.
Yes.
Your role in some of this activity has been to really look at what the movement needs best, and to find a way to adapt to those needs. And one of those has been to join the ethnic arm organization training, and then to begin to undertake various defensive operations in the course of that role.
Yes.
Of course, you're someone just on the ground, as we say in English. You're something of a grunt. You're just a foot soldier.
Yes.
Who is following orders and trying to carry out those orders as effectively as possible. But there are people giving those orders. There is a leadership, the National Unity Government, which is the body that is representative of the people, has its own, I believe it has 16 ministries. One of those ministries is the Ministry of Defense.
Yes.
And the Ministry of Defense, the MOD,
Yes.
is the ministry that's charged with looking after the resistance movement, the defending the peoples, the vulnerable peoples and villages that are being impacted by the Tamada, overseeing the overall objective and strategic vision. As someone who was actually on the ground and carrying out some of these missions, can you tell something about the relationship that your unit had with anyone in MOD, or the role that MOD or anyone in that ministry was assisting you in terms of training or material or funds or strategy, and what how exactly they were involved in overseeing or supporting the real courageous work that you were doing on the ground?
How can I say? When I heard first from the military side, they said to the NUG, National Unity Government, they said only speaker, their speaker government, the government from the government online, like that. So on ground, quite similar. No support from them, and even for the arrangement, everything's by our side, and we have to connect them. But there's a representative from them, but they're not working. They're not really working. Because of that, we face, even at the beginning, we face a lot of problem because of them. Because we were waiting the plan from them. There's a lot of delays, and the representative between us, NUG and us, are not really working. That's kind of problem. Even not working, no supporting. Kind of these things happening former days, before. How difficult is it? Even in downtown, we have to arrange our unit have to arrange the mission ourselves, supported, and funding everything is ourselves. Sorry, not ourselves. This is supported by the people. No, not NUG. The people from our township, or the people our friends, or our relatives, or these people, they support us. Only we have to. But for us, we don't, at the beginning, no, we don't blame, because we understand that this is the first experience for them. There's a mistake, kind of these things. But I didn't realize that they have the old habit. And they are acting 2015 to 20. No, this is not the same. This is completely different, bro. No, this is not the same situation, but they are acting as a government. Now during this situation, it's not a time to act like a government, to walk as a friendship, as a brotherhood, kind of we have to walk with the community, not with the order. We have to walk with the understanding, kind of these things. At the beginning they talk a lot, but on ground they do a little. That's a problem. I don't want to say other region, because I don't know. But for my region and for my unit, for my group, no support from them. Kind of this thing, only they can do is, after that, we have the connection with a NUG, and only they arrange is, kind of give the documentation. When the donor asks, okay, do you join with a NUG? Yes, we do. Look, we have the documentation. It's signed by the Ulangola or something like this. Kind of the thing. So, kind of that things are can change. So this is easy. Why so difficult, and why take time so long? Do they think is it cheap for us? Day by day, our people are dying on ground. Day by day, the people are suffering. Day by day, all the people are trouble. So to answer your question, no supporting, but they said again in present day, they will support they will support the PDF on the southern. Like they said, like some of the PDF they got their gains. I'm glad for that, but I don't want to say don't be too late.
So you feel from your experience of a year in being a member of a defensive force that you received not little support. It sounds like you received no support of any kind from the Ministry of Defense. No support of materials, of training, of nothing. I was thinking to ask you what role would you like them to play? It seems like something of an ironic question, because when I was going to ask a question about how to improve the relationship, but from what you're describing, there is no relationship. There is no support or engagement of any kind for the course of the year in what you were doing. So this is not a relationship to improve. This is something that sounds like it's been a pretty massive failure for a ministry charged with overseeing the overall defense of the country to simply ghost your group and to ghost you. Having been someone that's been on the ground, what would an effective MOD look like? What would you like to see from a leadership charged with overseeing the defensive operations and resistance groups in the country?
It's like they look like. I just want to make them a question. Do they think like MOD is like playing? Like, they thought this is a chime play, like kind of this thing. I don't want to, even along the year, like because of them, only troubles, no support. At the time, kind of like we have no, like for Myanmar people, it's kind of poor things. Behind us, only back. That's it. Kind of these things. So when you look, we have only NUG in NUG, like MOD is not working. So even sometimes we don't see it's like it is. I'm doubtful about that. Is this an apartment or not? Kind of that things, So this is like I think they have to change a leader in the Ministry of Defense. Kind of the thing, they have to more emphasize and they have to more work in representative and relationship between the ground. This is quite important, for them.
Right. Well, as you mentioned a little bit ago, there's certainly hours and hours of conversation left we can have. There's any one of these topics I think we can go into for its own episode, and I'm sure there are many incidences and things we haven't even brought up or discussed yet.
This is like all the people are quite similar. Like the feeling are quite similar. For me, I just want to say there's three kinds of people. Only I care, the people who support, they support, they cannot walk like us. The people who support, and the people who walking on ground, and kind of the people who standing outside, not in that problem. For the people who support, I just want to say that please, please be whole, because every day you have to believe it. You have to look yourself and you have to believe others. There's a lot of people who are trying their best and risking their life, giving their life for the country change. So believe them and please carry on. I know you have already you guys already really tired. I know that, and I have the compassion with them, with you. So but please hold for few months, please. That's for them. But for the people who walking on ground and just want to share like me. So please, like, honest yourself. Like, don't waste about the support, or don't waste the time, or don't waste kind of thing. You like everything, like every day by day, the people are suffering, the people are dying. So like, don't waste and be honest themselves. The people who are standing outside, please don't be silent, and please understand us. Please stand for the truth. This is like not only for Myanmar, this is also for yourself. Like, as you're like challenging the democracy is challenging you guys. We believe that democracy is kind of freedom. Like now in Myanmar, they are challenging the democracy. They are challenging the freedom of people. If such kind of like dictator are stronger and stronger, if they are stronger and stronger, they will challenge other country also. Now the example is, just look the Ukraine and Russia. Like, why the people are like supporting, like why the other country are like support so much? Because they're afraid. This is a kind of challenge. In Myanmar also the same. Happening in Myanmar, it's not civil war, bro. It's not civil war anymore. It is challenging the freedom. It is challenging the democracy that you guys need to know. Trust me. So that I want to say. Every time, if you don't care, every day, every time, the people are dying because of the people are dying for the democracy. The people are risking their life for democracy, for the freedom. If you thought that this is not my problem, this is their issue. So like this issue and this problem we knock your door in one day. That's quite sure. Please, like keep that word in mind, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time with us, and best wishes to you as you transition to a new role in supporting the revolution. And we should also mention that you are starting up a podcast discussion in Burmese language. We are going to be launching, or perhaps we've already launched because we're not quite sure of the release of this episode and the episodes you're working on, but Chit Tun will be leading Burmese discussions, Burmese podcasts that we'll also be including in our feed, so that many of these important conversations, he'll be on the other side of the chair as the host, and then talking to a variety of people associated with the revolution to talk about some of these topics in depth, and to get their stories and their voices and their feelings out there. And perhaps we'll even do a couple in English. And if that's the case, then on this current channel, we'll include those as well. So we'll have the chance to be the host here also. But for any of those bilingual listeners that also speak and understand Burmese, we invite you to check out his upcoming episodes, or perhaps, as mentioned, the episodes are already out because we're not sure of the release date of either. But to check out those episodes that you'll be doing that'll be in Burmese language, and to enjoy those. So we have that to look forward to, and we'll be working on supporting that as an ongoing project. And with that, Chit Tun, thank you for talking to us a year later. Perhaps we'll have another conversation next year and see how things have changed.
Yeah, sure. I'm also thanks really to you also for giving me a chance to share about my experience. Thank you so much.
As inspiring as today's guest was, I know from experience that when you're listening from so far away, there can also be a certain kind of helplessness in hearing about people's dire struggles. Thankfully, our nonprofit mission offers a reliable way for interested listeners to provide financial assistance to those local communities who need it most. All donations are sent to support urgent humanitarian missions, as well as those vulnerable peoples being impacted by the military coup. By taking an active role in helping to support the movement, you can help ensure that people like today's speaker have even a few more resources to draw upon, and can manage even just another week in continuing their efforts. If you would like to join in our mission to support those in Myanmar who are being impacted by the military coup, we welcome your contribution in any form, currency, or transfer method. Your donation will go to support a wide range of humanitarian missions, aiding those local communities who need it most. Donations are directed to such causes as the Civil Disobedience Movement, CDM, families of deceased victims, internally displaced person, IDP camps, food for impoverished communities, military defection campaigns, undercover journalists, monasteries and nunneries, education initiatives, the purchasing of protective equipment and medical supplies, COVID relief, and much more. We also make sure that our donation fund supports a diverse range of religious and ethnic groups across the country. We invite you to visit our website to learn more about past projects as well as upcoming needs. You can give a general donation or earmark your contribution for a specific activity or project you would like to support. Perhaps even something you heard about in this very episode. All of this humanitarian aid work is carried out by our nonprofit mission, Better Burma. Any donation you give on our Insight Myanmar website is directed towards this fund. Alternatively, you can also visit the Better Burma website, betterburma.org. That's BETTERBURMA.org, and donate directly there. In either case, your donation goes to the same cause, and both websites accept credit cards. You can also give via PayPal by going to paypal.me/betterburma. Additionally, we take donations through Patreon, Venmo, GoFundMe, and Cash App. Simply search Better Burma on each platform and you'll find our account. You can also visit either the Insight Myanmar or Better Burma websites for specific links to those respective accounts, or email us at info@betterburma.org. If you'd like to give in another way, please contact us. Thank you so much for your kind consideration and support.